The following segment is sponsored by Smith Injury Law and 300hurt.com.
The best way to handle an auto accident is not to be involved in one in the first place. And while you cannot keep every crash from happening, there are some common mistakes that you can't avoid. Richard Smith is here from Smith Injury Law this morning. Hi, Richard.
Good morning, Margaret.
Your first tip is a good one. You say never simply accept it when somebody waves you on to make that left turn in front of them, right?
That's very important because we have seen a lot of accidents that way, especially when you have multiple lanes of traffic, because while somebody else may be stopping and waving you through, the car on the other lane may not be stopping. And if you're involved in an accident, you can't say, well, this car said I could come, and that's not a defense. You have to yield the right of way to all the lanes of traffic. So it's really difficult when there's multiple lanes of traffic to don't just follow somebody's advice. Make sure it's clear.
Yeah, check your own safety. Also, number 2 tip is approaching an intersection is not a good time to change lanes or to speed up, right?
Absolutely. In fact, the statute says you're supposed to reduce speed when approaching an intersection, and you're also not allowed to change lanes in an intersection. So both of those things could cause you to be at fault in an accident. Yeah. And you don't want that to happen. You want to be very careful. Always assume that the other driver might not be stopping and not following the rules. That way you're prepared.
Defensive driving at its best. You handle a lot of accident cases, and the most common have to do with rear end collisions, you say. So what's the main problem that leads up to those?
Well, I think it's mostly distracted driving, because basically if you're not paying close attention, you look down at your phone, you are adjusting your radio, or you're adjusting your GPS, or whatever you're doing, take your eye off the road for just a second, the car in front of you stops or slows down, and you hit them in the rear. And that happens quite often, especially on 85. 85, if you all know in this area, if you're going 85 south from Spartanburg to Greenville and you get to the Pelham Road exit, the traffic almost always slows down there. But if you're somebody from out of town who's driving through this area, you're not going to be aware of that. So we see that often, that out-of-town drivers aren't aware of the slowdown in that part of 85, and if they're not paying attention, they hit somebody in the rear.
Well, you want everybody to stay safe out there, but if they are injured in a car accident and it's not their fault, they can call you at 300-HURT. Tell us about Smith Injury Law and your practice areas.
Well, we practice law, myself and my partner, Scott Becky, in South Carolina and up in Western North Carolina. I've been licensed in South Carolina since 1987, also licensed in North Carolina. We handle automobile accidents, workers' compensation claims, and Social Security disability claims. We're local. We know the area. We know the people. And it's very important, in my opinion, to get help from somebody who's experienced and local and understands things like the Pelham Road exit on 85.
Well, the tips you give come out. You even wrote a book called 10 Critical Mistakes to Avoid If You're Injured in a Car Wreck. And it starts out with how to avoid accidents in the first place. So you care about their safety. People can request that book. They can contact you at 300HURT, or they can visit 300hurt.com. Richard Smith, Smith Injury Law, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Margaret.